Once upon a time, there was a little girl who lived in a village by a forest. Whenever she went out, she wore a red hooded cape. Everyone called her Little Red Riding Hood. One day, her mother baked some cakes, and she asked Little Red Riding Hood to take them to her grandmother, who lived in the forest. Little Red Riding Hood was very excited and happy to go visit her grandmother. Her mother packed up the cakes in a basket and reminded Little Red Riding Hood to not waste time and go straight to her grandmother's house and to not talk to strangers. Along the path to her grandmother's house, there were flowers, ponds, and woodland animals along the way. And Little Red Riding Hood took her time and enjoyed them all. Then, all of a sudden, a wolf was beside her, asking, "Well, Little Red Riding Hood, what are you doing here?" She told him she was on her way to visit her grandmother's house in the forest. The wolf wanted to gobble up Little Red Riding Hood, but he noticed a woodcutter coming along. So the wolf thought of a plan. "Well, where does your grandmother live?" the wolf asked. Little Red Riding Hood answered, "She lives over the bridge and past the lake," she told the wolf. "Let's play a game and race to your grandmother's house to see who can get there first," said the wolf. "Okay," said Little Red Riding Hood as she ran towards her grandmother's house as fast as she could. The wolf knew a secret path that was far quicker and ran towards her grandmother's house to beat Little Red Riding Hood in the race. The wolf knocked on the grandmother's door, and she asked, "Is that you, Little Red Riding Hood?" The wolf was able to disguise his voice very well, and he replied, "Yes, grandmother, it is me." "Oh, come in, my dear Little Red Riding Hood," said grandmother. To her surprise, the big bad wolf ran in and gobbled her up. The wolf then dressed up to disguise himself as the grandmother. He put on her nightcoat and nightcap and jumped in her bed. Very soon after, Little Red Riding Hood knocked on the door. The wolf disguised his voice again and asked, "Who is it?" "It's me," said Little Red Riding Hood. "Oh, do come in, dear," crackled the wolf. When Little Red Riding Hood saw her grandmother, she barely recognized her and thought her voice sounded strange. As Little Red Riding Hood got closer, she noticed her grandmother's ears were so big and asked, "Grandmother, what big ears you have." "All the better to hear you with, my dear," croaked the wolf. "But, grandmother, what big eyes you have." "All the better to see you with, my sweet girl," replied her grandmother, who was really the wolf. "But, grandmother, what big teeth you have," said Little Red Riding Hood, feeling very scared. "All the better to eat you with," roared the wolf as he leapt from the bed towards Little Red Riding Hood. She ran towards the door as fast as she could. And now she could fully see that it was not her grandmother, but the big bad wolf. As she was trying to escape, she yelled, "Help!" in her loudest voice. "Help!" Cutter, who was working in the forest, heard Little Red Riding Hood's cries for help and ran to help her. He caught the big bad wolf and shook him so hard that grandmother came out all in one piece. Little Red Riding Hood hugged her grandmother and apologized for talking to strangers and wasting time. Her grandmother said, "Don't worry, dear. You have learned some important lessons. Now why don't we enjoy those delicious cakes you brought me?" The woodcutter took the big bad wolf deep into the forest, so he could never bother Little Red Riding Hood or her family ever again. The end. Once upon a time, there was a mother pig who told her 3 little pigs it was time for them to build their own home and move out. She told them to build their homes to be safe from the big bad wolf. The first little pig bought some straw and built his house. Soon enough, a wolf came along and knocked on his door. The wolf asked, little piggy, let me come in." "Not by the hair of my chinny chin chin," answered the little pig. "Then I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your house down." And the wolf blew down the little piggy's straw house. The second little pig built a house made of sticks. Along came the wolf, who said, little piggy, let me come in." "Not by the hair of my chinny chin chin," said the little pig. "Then I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your house down," said the wolf. The wolf blew down the stick house. The third little piggy made a house of bricks. He built a very strong house. Soon enough, along came the wolf. He knocked on the pig's door and said, little piggy, let me come in." "Not by the hair of my chinny chin chin," said the pig. "Then I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your house down," said the wolf. So the wolf huffed and he puffed, but he could not blow down the strong brick house. The wolf sat down and wondered how he could get that nice little pig outside the brick house. Then he had an idea. "Little pig," he called, "come with me to the farmer's turnip field. It is quite full of nice turnips. I will come for you at 6 o'clock tomorrow." "Okay," said the little pig. But the clever little pig got up at 5 o'clock and went to the turnip field and gathered all the turnips he could carry. He was back home at 6 when the wolf arrived. The wolf was very angry when he realized he had been tricked, but he did not show it. He had another plan. He thought of another idea to get the pig out of his house. The wolf invited the pig to the fair and said, "We can meet and go together at 3 o'clock sharp." The pig squealed, "Oh, I love fairs. I would love to go." The little pig slipped out early to the fair and had a wonderful time, playing games and eating cotton candy. He even bought a nice new barrel to collect his rainwater. On the way home from the fair, he saw the wolf coming up to meet him. The little pig climbed into his new barrel to hide. The barrel began to roll and rolled right past the wolf. The barrel scared the wolf, and he ran all the way home. After a while, the wolf went to tell the pig about the strange barrel that was rolling right towards him. The little pig laughed and said, "It was only a barrel," the little pig told him. "I was inside the barrel." The big bad wolf did not like to be laughed at, and he was tired of the little pig's tricks. He was also very hungry. He wanted to eat the little pig. "Little pig, I am tired of your tricks. The time has come to eat you up." It had been so easy to huff and puff and blow down the straw and stick houses, but he had to figure out what to do to get into this little pig's brick house. The big bad wolf looked up. and saw the chimney for the fireplace. And then he jumped up on the roof and shouted down, little piggy, down the chimney I will come to get you and eat you up." The little piggy put a huge pot of boiling water over the fire just in time. The big bad wolf jumped into the chimney and fell all the way down, right into the pot of hot water. And that was the end of the big bad wolf. Once upon a time, a carpenter named Ali Baba lived with his wife in a forest in the Middle East. Ali Baba collected wood every day to sell. Ali Baba did not earn very much money, but did the best he could to provide for his family. One day, while collecting wood, Ali Baba heard the sound of many horses approaching. He tied up his donkey and hid behind a tree. Ali Baba then saw 40 men on horses stop and unload bags of gold coins and treasures. Ali Baba realized this group must be thieves. Just then, one of the men moved towards a large rock and started to shout, "Open sesame!" Suddenly, the large rock moved and revealed a cave. All the thieves loaded their bags into the cave. The rock closed over the cave opening after the thieves left their bags of treasure. The leader yelled, "Close sesame!" and the rock sealed the opening. The thieves left and Ali Baba could not believe what he had just seen. He ran over to the rock and yelled, "Open sesame!" The rock opened to reveal the cave. Ali Baba crept into the cave and was overwhelmed when he saw all the gold coins and treasures in the cave. He filled 3 bags and ran out of the cave. Just like the thief, Ali Baba shouted, "Close sesame!" The rock sealed the cave. Ali Baba loaded up his donkey and headed home to surprise his wife with all the treasures. His wife could not believe it. Ali Baba told her the whole story about the thieves and the cave. His wife wanted to see how much money they had. Ali Baba suggested they bury their newfound treasures. Ali Baba's wife agreed, but knew they needed to count the gold coins with a money cup first. She told Ali Baba they should borrow a money cup from his rich brother Kasim. Ali Baba warned his wife not to say a word about the treasure to anyone. Despite his warning, Ali Baba's wife secretly went to his brother Kasim's mansion and asked to borrow the money cup. Kasim lent her the cup but was suspicious, as he knew Ali Baba had no gold. He was just a poor carpenter. He secretly found out when Ali Baba's wife returned the cup that she had used it to measure gold. When Kasim found this out, he confronted Ali Baba. Ali Baba told his brother the whole story and made him promise not to speak a word of this to anyone. Kasim snuck out from his home in the night and went to the treasure cave. He shouted, "Open sesame!" And to his surprise, he saw all the treasures stacked inside. He filled many bags to load onto his donkeys. When he turned to leave, the cave door had slammed shut. Kasim could not remember what the words were to open the rock door. Just then, the 40 thieves arrived and found Kasim with the bags. They killed Kasim. Kasim's wife was worried when her husband disappeared. So she went to Ali Baba. Ali Baba knew where to look, and he visited the cave. Ali Baba found his dead brother. He told Kasim's wife about what had happened and offered to help her run his rich brother's business. Ali Baba and his wife moved into the mansion and helped Kasim's wife. Meanwhile, the thieves still wanted to find that treasure that had been stolen from their cave. They heard stories of a wealthy man, Ali Baba. The leader of the thieves devised a plan to sneak his thieves into the mansion, hidden away in olive oil barrels that he would sell to Ali Baba. His plan worked. But while Ali Baba and the thief were talking, Kasim's wife discovered the hidden thieves. She poured hot boiling oil into each barrel, and all the thieves died. The leader of the thieves was so scared, he ran out of the castle, never to return again. Ali Baba and his family lived a prosperous and happy life forever. Once upon a time in the North Pole lived Santa Claus. He lived in a castle with Mrs. Claus and the elves. His reindeer all lived with Santa in the North Pole. One night, a special reindeer named Rudolph was born. Rudolph was special because he had a glowing red nose. Rudolph was not too sure about his nose. It didn't look like all the other reindeers' noses. He heard the other reindeer making fun of his nose. This made Rudolph very sad. Rudolph had no idea that someday his nose would make him very proud. Rudolph left his village and met some great friends along the way. One of his friends was an elf that was always made fun of by the other elves. The elf, named Hermie, just wanted to be a dentist. But all the other elves were toy makers, and they always laughed at Hermie for wanting to be a dentist. Hermie and Rudolph had a lot in common and decided they would head out into the woods to get away from all the people who made fun of them. Soon enough, they saw the scary, abominable snowman. They managed to run away. They met a great adventurer named Yukon Cornelius, and he helped them to fight off the abominable snowman.
Oh. Oh.
They all became very friendly on their journey. They visited the land of misfit toys. The toys asked them for help someday when they got back to Santa. The toys just wanted Santa to help them get to the children. The toys would feel loved once they were in the children's hands. Rudolph, Hermie, and Yukon promised they would help the misfit toys if they could someday. Then it hit, the biggest snowstorm the North Pole had ever seen. It was Christmas Eve and Santa was very close to calling off Christmas because he could not get through the terrible storm to deliver the gifts to the children. Meanwhile, Rudolph, Hermie, Yukon Cornelius, and the abominable snowman were heading back to Santa's castle to get back home from the terrible storm. A whole year had passed since they had left, and they must return home. When they all arrived at Santa's castle, everyone was so happy to see that Rudolph and Hermie were okay. They were all very sorry for being so mean to them and making fun of them. They also enjoyed meeting their brand new friends, Yukon Cornelius and the abominable snowman. Santa all of a sudden realized that Rudolph's bright glowing red nose could help guide his sleigh through the storm, and they did not have to cancel Christmas. Santa asked Rudolph, "Rudolph, with your nose so bright, won't you guide my sleigh tonight?" Rudolph was overjoyed. Santa put Rudolph in the lead spot, and off they went to deliver all the gifts and toys the elves had made. Rudolph asked Santa to stop and pick up all the misfit toys, and Santa said, "Lead the way, Rudolph." They delivered all the toys to the children around the world, and it was heard as they drove out of sight. Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night. The end.